So we'll start from the beginning of Chafei. V'kan kol ha'chayavim b'mitzvos chayavim b'mitzvah zu. This mitzvah b'chilas matzah, whoever normally is chayav in mitzvah is chayav in matzah. Tumtum b'androgonus, it's a sofik ish l'malcha. So they're for sure chayav because the one is shachta. Filu nashim chayav l'sen matzah, so no matter what they consider them, they're chayav. Chutz, the exception is chereshot of v'kan t'lav b'nei mitzvah nenu. This we discussed last time. B'machal matzah kishenishtata. When he lost his mind, and then he got his mind back. Because when he was nishtata, he was a shota and he was pater, so he's going to have to eat it again. Ayin Rosh Hashanah. And you only become a gadol when you bring base Cyrus. So it comes out when he ate it, he didn't know he brought Cyrus at 12 o'clock and he ate the matzah at 10 o'clock. So when at 10 o'clock he was higil chinuch, and after he ate the matzah, hebi beis Cyrus, he's going to have to, because now he's mechuyev with the rice, and before he only did it al chinuch. When he ate it at 10 o'clock. He said, "L'shitas Rabbeinu Tuvia mebien huva Mordechai Megillah Beisim and Tavshin Tzadikes huva Halchus Shabbos. The Yod say b'kiddush Shabbos miplaga mincha. If you make kiddush after plaga mincha, even though it's only tosas, then Kabbalah Shabbos is only the Rabbanan. After ein of element Rabbanan, even though you're only doing kiddush then in the Zman of Shabbos, which is the Rabbanan. He says that's good enough. It's very hard to understand what he says, but that's what this Rabbeinu Tuvia says. So he's saying, just like Rabbeinu Tuvia over there, for some reason he holds if you did the mitzvah and it's midrabanan, it helps you for the raisa later. So he's saying the same thing over here. If the Kohen was if the person ate the matzah while he was a shota, as a bar mitzvah before the shtei saros, so since he was a gilach, since he was a drabanan, so that's good enough. It's not so pashut. I don't really know a good svara, even though I learned this in our class for this Rabbeinu Tuvia, but some people say that even Rabbeinu Tuvia, who says it's good enough, he's only talking about a person who's in the parsha. Let's say a person who's a gadol, who's supposed to make kiddush on Shabbos, and he did it in his man d'Rabbanan. So such a person who's in the mitzvah, even though he didn't do the mitzvah the rice to go away, he did it the Rabbanan to go away. This Rabbeinu Tuvia holds that's good enough. I don't know why he holds it's good enough, but that's the case he's talking about. But in the case of a person who, let's say in this case, he's a shota b'shasi. Not this case. He's talking about the case where he wasn't bar mitzvah, he was a kohen. So he's not even the parsha. Right? In other words, the Torah didn't speak to a kohen. So in such a case, even this Rabbeinu Tuvia would say that if he does it as of the Rabbanan, right? But since the one who did it as the Rabbanan, it wasn't even in the parsha, it won't help. And when he becomes a gadol, he's going to have to do it again. Okay, that's what many achronim say. But the point is that still you have to work out a hesper. Even if you learn Rabbeinu Tuvia is only talking in that case, still, why should it be good? He only did it as a...
how's it good with us?
What? No, so his sushtel to Rabbeinu Tuvia to the case of the gadol is not a good sushtel.
I'm just wondering with us, when we're Makabel Shabbos early, when do we do Kiddush Shabbos with the Raisa? Or do we hold the Shabbos Shabbos as the Raisa?
But you're doing Kiddush. First, you're not doing it in Plagamancha. You're probably doing it in Tosas Shabbos. And some people
he's talking before Plagamancha?
He's talking about right after Plagamancha. But there is a time of Tosas Shabbos which could be the Raisa, but not after Plagamancha. So it's true. The problem is when we make Kiddush, we're doing it in Isman the Rabbanan. If we're doing it in Isman the Rabbanan, how does it help for the Raisa later on? So you have to. The only one that says it helps is this Rabbeinu Tuvia. So I guess you have to say we rely on this Rabbeinu Tuvia.
That's why Rambam, I heard that
there's a Rambam that says that a rice you don't eat it on Shabbos. Right. It's Samach l'Shabbos.
Right.
But the question is, what's called Samach l'Shabbos? Does it mean right before Shabbos, or does it mean an hour before Shabbos, or 2 hours before Shabbos?
But most likely, if it's already part of Tosas Shabbos, then you can also rely upon the Rambam that would be even though
Yes,
it's not
they
really
don't know
some
what
of
the
Shabbos, but because there's, remember, right, there's something in
It's language. There's some of Shabbos over there or something, and they
right.
don't know exactly what some of
Right.
Shabbos.
So you can rely upon the Rambam as well, theoretically. But there's really an issue. So people, the right all you really have to say is Mekadosh Shabbos, right? I mean, what do you right say?
Well, most people hold that all you have to say is,
Shabbos,
Shabbos. Say Shabbos is holy or something like that.
Right.
There's a Ricky Vega that says, there's a famous shaila that you're Yotzei Kiddush Deraisa when you daven Marav.
Right.
So how are you Motzi
your wife?
Your wife, because then you're only doing Alakos is only, most people is only the Rabban, not Midaraisa. So how could you Motzi your wife if she's Mechli Midaraisa because she's Mechli in Kiddush? So how could you be Motzi your wife?
It's according to the Rosh. I mean, the shaila is only according to the Rosh because there's no Kol Yisrael Reim Zelazah. Like otherwise, if there's Arvus, then it would be okay, right?
Yeah, but there is no, what's going like the problem is there is no Arvus for nation according to the Psalm sheet.
That's the Rosh. That's what
well,
okay. I thought it was Rosh.
It is the Rosh sheet that is in my focus how to learn the Rosh. Okay, but so how could you be Yotzi your wife? So some people say that the Chassam Silver said he used to have kavanah not to be Yotzi in davening.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Okay, but most people, there's a Kivager that says that your wife is also Yotzei Midaraisa when she says Good Shabbos.
Right.
When she says Good Shabbos, and Mr. Burra says he doesn't understand how Good Shabbos is. You have to be Mekadosh Shabbos. Just stop saying Good Shabbos.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't think there was a strong enough conscience to go against the Kivager because usually when a person says, they're not just saying Good Shabbos like they're saying Good Tuesday. When they're saying Good Shabbos, they're because the whole Shabbos is a special day. That's where Kivager probably held that that's good enough. You don't say Good Tuesday or something like that. You say Good Shabbos.
Right.
Okay, but Mr. Burr argues on that. But so I don't know what you have to do to be Mekadosh if you have to say the Yom is Mekadosh according to Mr. Burr.
But really.
Okay, but we usually we make Kiddush. We don't make Kiddush normally in a normal Shabbos. We don't make it early. I mean, we make it by the time you come home and you say you make Kiddush. It's already it's not toasted, but some people are Makabel Shabbos earlier, like in the summer stuff like that. And you're relying on this Rabbeinu.
So you're that's interesting. You rely upon Rabbeinu Tovia even though.
It's hard to understand that's what he says.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if it might have something to do with his understanding of Drabbanans, how Drabbanans work. Probably,
that's the try way. In other words, since the Torah gave the Rabbanan this ability to be Masakin, so it helps even further, I say.
Yeah.
It's based on Saucer, it's like whatever it is, that's the first, but it's hard. Anyway, I'm just telling you that his sushto
doesn't apply.
Is not such a pashut sushto, but it's mistabra. What's the difference? It's no argument against him that he's making but there's achronim that are machalik. Now he said by Rambam Kosav Perikim Ikur and Pesach Halacha Zayin Dim Asa and Pesach Rishon. So the final Pesach Rishon was a cotton. The Higdal Kol and Pesach Sheni became the Gadol before the 15th of the year. He's Patni Pesach Sheni because he did the Pesach Rishon. Right? So the question is, what do you mean he did? He was a cotton at the time of the Pesach Rishon. In Afshanir Midvarav Sham Perek Beis and Leil Mitzvah that he'll celebrate Sabbath Lav Deraisa. There means it's not a chiyuv for the whole family. It doesn't include the cotton. Right? Celebrate Sabbath Lav Deraisa could be the Pesach goes for the whole family, including the cotton. But since the Rambam holds celebrate Sabbath is not a deraisa, so he says, what's the pshat? So how could the Rambam say he doesn't have to bring a Pesach Sheni because he did the Pesach Rishon? Right? He was only a cotton when he did the Pesach Rishon. He says, Nira Gamkain, the Sober, the Rabbanan Potem Deraisa. So you could say it's also like Rabbeinu Tovia because he was a Bar Chinuch, and the Rabbanan Patrizei Deraisa.
But otherwise, he would be chayiv in Pesach Sheni. So Pesach Sheni is not just a compensation.
That's a machlokas tanoim. But we hold it's like that's a shav of Gershon's gar between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. He brings a Pesach Sheni. So I guess around Baskins he does bring a Pesach Shani, so why is the cotton different? There's a Chaim that says, so he's learning that he was Yotzei with Midrabanan, and that's why he wants to learn the Rambam. There's a Rabbi Chaim that doesn't learn Pshat like that. He says the cotton wasn't Yotzei anything. I mean, he wasn't Yod Midrabanan, but he says not because of the Rabbanan powdered the rice. He says he didn't do the mitzvah at all, Midraisa. But the point is over here that as long as you were part of a Pesach, you don't have to bring a Pesach Sheni, even though you were not Yotzei the mitzvah. In other words, he says the Rambam holds that you could count a cotton in the Korban Pesach, so he is part of the Korban. And even though he's not mechuyev, and even though he doesn't get any mitzvah whatsoever, even you say it's not even a mitzvah the Rabbanan, he says once you were a chelik of the first Pesach, you don't have to bring a Pesach Sheni. You brought a Korban. You brought the Pesach.
The fact that the cotton is already unique because you counted in the Chabura.
So he's saying, but even though he doesn't get a mitzvah, and even though he doesn't the Rabbanan, but still he's going to be patur from Pesach Sheni because
he was still
one of the that Korban was brought for him.
Right.
And so he was not that he's Yotzei. There's nothing for him to be Yotzei. There was no mitzvah, but he did do a Pesach Rishon. So which is a big chiddush. Like this whole story that he did the Pesach Rishon, even though he wasn't mitzvah in it at all.
What's going through my mind is a ger who with kids, in terms of the mitzvah Puruvu, even though he's not Mekayim the mitzvah, the fact that he had even with all the shalas, so it's an interesting concept that there's no kiyum mitzvah, but the fact is it was done, and
he says that by Pesach Rishon. That's everything. But he's not learning like that. He's learning because of the Rabbanan helps for a deraisa. He said near. He says, but this Rambam it seems that he's learning because he did the mitzvah the Rabbanan the Pesach Rishon. And he quotes that Rambam, and he asks the kasha from the case of eating shota lo yatsa. Because it says if you do a mitzvah when you were a shota, even if you got better, you're not yotzei. So why was it Korban Pesach also? Because the Torah Evan was asked me to write, so he didn't do anything. Well, if he much kasavnu lo kasha, but I'm telling you that could be the Rambam holds that doing it midrabanan is good enough. The shota, and that's the answer to the case of the shota. The shota pater apen rabbanan, avol ka'an chay midrabanan. Im kain eshesh esfaras haRambam kasfaras Rabbeinu Tuvia, ayin v'tovin. It just says almost in the bottom. I didn't look them up. It's not so pashut because how does it work? In other words, pashut, if you hold salabei salas lav deraisa, you learn that the cotton isn't even part of the minui. Like you're saying, Rabbi Chaim was learning he is part of the minui, just that he doesn't have any mitzvah or anything like that. But pashut shot, if you hold cotton is pater, so he wouldn't be part of the minui, right?
But he hasn't been there's no bear in needing.
So Tosas over there says, how could you make a cotton, give a cotton a Korban Pesach al Chinuch? I shlolim nuyot. So there's in the Rishonim, I don't remember the Ran says the Teres and Tosas Teres. Well, I think one of the truths. I'm not sure who says what. I forgot. I should have looked it up. I think the Ran says only a person who's chayiv to be in the minui has a din of shlolim nuyot. There's the isser of shlolim nuyot is only a person who's supposed to be in the minui. But if the cotton is not supposed to be in the minui, there isn't any problem with shlolim nuyot.
Right.
So it comes out according to the Ran, he's not in the minui. Right? So you can't say what Rav Chaim is saying. It's hard to hear. Maybe it's still possible, since he doesn't have to be in the minui, so it could be still part of the Korban Pesach if they brought it from, even though he's not in the minui.
I remember from when we did that, something of that nature that says that the Isser only applies to someone who could have been.
That's the Ran.
That's it. But I remember.
Tosas doesn't say that. Tosas says that what's the problem? The problem is that you're not allowed to give an Isser to a cotton, right? So how could he give a Korban Pesach since there's an Isser Shalom Niv? How could he give him the Korban Pesach? So Tosfos says over there that even though generally it's usher to give an isser to a ka'in, but over here, since you're doing Chinuch, it's okay. There's this whole isser of Ein Maspinin to a ka'in is only when, so there also comes out according to Tosfos, he's also not really in the meaning, just that there's no isser because you're doing it out Chinuch. So the Chachamim aren't telling you to do an isser. But the problem is, but still, how does it work that he should be, even if he's not being guilty, but how do you say he's the Bala Korban? He wasn't in the meaning. So Reb Chaim has to be going that Selvei Savos Derais or Selvei Savos Lav Derais. It's not a machlokas if he could be in the meaning. It's a machlokas if he's in the mitzvah or not. We paskin, but still I think Reb Chaim says he is in the meaning, but I have to look up to Reb Chaim to make sure. But that's I know that's what Reb Chaim says, that it's nothing to do with him being Yotze. He's not Yotze anything, but he still brought the Korban Pesach.
I remember something about the fact that he counts it, something about him counting minute. I just thought the Reb Chaim's shot fits in well if you say it's part of minute. So
yeah,
he actually said
you have to look at Reb Chaim inside to make sure. What he says. I think that he does say that, because I think he just says Sava Baslavas Lav Deraisa means there's no chiyuv, there's no mitzvah, but he could still be in the meaning. I think he says so, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is the yesod that I remember for sure. He says that even though he's not Yotze, Simon Raisa, Simon Rabbanan, there's something to do with being Yotze, but since the Korban was brought for him, he doesn't have to bring a Pesach.
Right.
Sheni.
I understand that Tosfos. I mean, because the mitzvah of chinuch, it seems to be like
it's very hard to understand.
Like
how can
let's say Rabbanan lets you do a losa say deraisa. I mean,
no, that was the Okash. You're not allowed to. That was Tosfos Kasha.
Right.
You're not allowed to do an Isser Deraisa.
Right.
So Chacham don't have a club to tell you to do an Isser Deraisa. So,
right. So how does chinuch make it a? I mean, how does it change? I mean, what chinuch adds? How does that change the? It's still message Rabbanan.
Yeah, well, I thought the point was not changing the idea of it with Rabbanan. The point is, how do you understand that you're not allowed to? In other words, a katan is not a bar yisrael either.
Right.
So this din that a gadol can't give him a dvar iser, that's what Tosfos is saying. This whole din that stammas that give him a dvar iser can't do it if there's purposes for the katan. Like chinuch, then you could. In other words, the iser doesn't.
So you say the iser of being
machal a katan is not a straight out iser. In other words, if there's a benefit to the katan of chinuch, not because the Rabbanan were docha. It sounds like that. If the purpose of the mitzvah is for chinuch, that avoids the iser. That's how I understood it, but you have to look inside to see.
Yeah, but that makes a little bit more sense, in the sense that it's putting machal, the machal of iser can be overridden for a beneficial purpose for the cotton.
Yeah.
There's a, I don't remember this. There's a Chasam Sofer, but a cotton that had to go to a hospital.
Right.
Right, where
they're going to feed him trephus.
They're going to feed him trephus. He was materit, but I don't remember the details. But the person, the people who be machal the cotton were goyim. That was part of the heter because
right, you're not doing it directly.
You're not doing it directly. So that's not really. Like I'm just thinking, is that a similar type of case? But that's not really machal. That's why I just thought of that in my mind. Okay.
Okay. Now chavav. Now he's discussing when you eat matzah, you have to have kavanah to be yotzei. He says v'alei tzarach kavanah. Certainly you should have kavanah. Then he says ach v'diyaved im yatsa below kavanah. But what about if he didn't have kavanah? So b'chor, in other words, before you eat it, you certainly should have kavanah to be yotzei. What about if you ate it without kavanah v'diyaved? Das haber rishonim debo yatsa. Many rishonim say you weren't yotzei. Why? The poskim mitzvah srichus kavanah. By mitzvah deraisa you need kavanah, and they poskim like that mandem mitzvah srichus kavanah. So without kavanah you're not yotzei. We call makom after Rambam huva after Rambam perbez a shofar sover the mitzvah srichus kavanah. So we know the Rambam poskim like that man mitzvah srichus kavanah. We call makom bachilas matzah sover kan perek vav halacha gimel be'apolo kavanah yatsa. He doesn't say why. So the Rishonim, the Maggid Mishnah, so they say that it's a strong kasha. So they say to me, very doubtfully, but this is what they say. Even the nena, since by achila there's a hanoah, and we've crossed by Yisurim hamisasik b'chalavim v'arayas chayav shekei nena. In other words, we say that even though normally if a person does an isser and he's misasik, he's putter, but by arayas and chalavim we say that since by arayas there's a hanoah, and by chalav there's a hanoah, so we say a misasik, even though he's misasik, he's chayav, even though he didn't have any intention of doing that and he just happened to have done it. But we say since there's hanoah, it's miyuchas to him. So therefore we say the Rambam holds the same thing by a mitzvah, that if he does a mitzvah without kavanah, but if he has hanoah, the fact that he's having hanoah is miyachas to him. Ayin Ran Rosh Hashanah Sham B'Rabba Magid Perigles Mishofer Halacha Dalet. They say the svara that hanoah is different. The question is, where did the Rambam get to say such a svara? It's not such a pasha svara.
I mean, I've heard this sushta before, but it really is two different things. I mean, it's the difference between kavanah and you consider an avera because you experience something that's something different. But here it's not a question of experience; it's a question of kavanah. You do the same mitzvah. So I understand the problem with this sushta. That's
why when I said it in the way of being miyachas to him, just like by avera you miyachas it to him. So by over here, you're miyachas it to him, and you don't.
That's still not kavanah. I mean,
yeah, but it could be that's what their concept of kavanah is. Because if you do stamazli in mitzvah without kavanah, it's not, you didn't intend to do it, you weren't interested in the mitzvah, so we don't make it your mitzvah. If you had hanoah, then we're miyachas it to you, we consider it your mitzvah. That's why I said it differently than the regular kavanah in the Chanan.
Right.
Without kavanah, it's hard to hear.
Right.
That's why I said that could be the old.
That's an interesting idea of kavanah. What you're saying is kavanah is really connecting you
to the
mitzvah.
Right.
Interesting perspective.
That's the way I understood this sushta, because otherwise I don't hear it. That's when I said it over, I said it that way.
Right. No, I understand, but I'm glad you pointed it out to me because it's a very interesting idea of the
mitzvah shrichus kavanah.
Mitzvah shrichus kavanah. I mean, it's
not the normal way of understanding it,
no,
for sure.
No.
But that's why I understand these people who say kavanah is different.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand. That's okay. I mean, it just seems.
It's not the normal way. I agree.
No. Okay. No, I understand. Okay.
But there, it's hard to understand. Then what's the story? I know that one time, I think even before I was married, or right after I was married, I had a chabrusa, Nachum Lansky, so he wanted to say a different shot in the Rambam, and no one liked it, but he liked it very much. He wanted to say that even though normally mitzvah srichas kavanah, the Torah says when you do a mitzvah you should have kavanah to be also like the blow shov, you have kavanah. But here he wanted to say the mitzvah is matzah is different. He wanted to say that the Torah said that the whole year around you eat chametz, and now you should eat matzah. But eating matzah is taking the place of eating chametz. Instead of eating chametz, so whatever is required, so in other words, it should be the regular act of eating. Just like some people say the same thing with sukkah. You're supposed to live in your house the whole year round, and you're supposed to live in the sukkah. So the sukkah is taking the place of the house. So he wanted to say, could be such a kind of mitzvah doesn't need kavanah to be yotze, because the etza mitzvah is to do what you normally do in the house, do in the sukkah. So he was trying to say the same thing. What you normally eat. You normally eat bread, right? And the Torah is telling you, don't eat bread. Eat matzah instead of your bread. So he's saying maybe such a kind of mitzvah. The Rambam holds that you don't have to have kavanah. That's not the story of the Rambam. He's saying a whole together different story. So maybe that's why the Rambam holds by matzah you don't have to have kavanah to be yotze the mitzvah of.
So why do you still have to be nana?
But no, you don't have to be nana. He's not working with the Rambam's far. The Rambam just says you're yotze without kavanah.
Right. So it has nothing to do with him.
No, he's not learning the story. That's me there. He didn't learn the story.
Right.
He learned that that's what the Rambam held, that the Torah is just saying substitute matzah for bread. So there's no other requirement to have kavanah. That's what he wanted to say. I mean, I don't understand the story of Nanan. I don't, so the Rambam is shared too, as far as I'm concerned. But that was, I remember he said such in the halach.
It's also interesting in terms of the whole issue we had with sukkah and matzah before, because matzah is only one time there's really nikkur mitzvah. So so by sukkah, by taking the place and stuff like that, but here. The actual mitzvah of chilas matzah is not really like taken. It's not really similar like the sukkah show.
Yeah,
but
that was his idea.
It's an interesting idea.
Okay. Now he says the imkiven beferish lo lotzais. So even the Rambam said you don't need kavanah. What if you have kavanah that he doesn't want to be able to the mitzvah? Or there's another madrega shelo yada shel pesach or matzah. There's a case where a person didn't have kavanah, like the normal cases. The guy was Pesach and he was eating matzah, and he didn't have kavanah to be able to the mitzvah of matzah. But what about if a guy happened to eat matzah and he didn't even know it was Pesach that night?
Right.
Or if he knew it was Pesach, but he didn't know there was an Indian eating, he didn't know this was matzah.
Right.
So there's Rishon, I think it's a Ra'ah that's machalak, that even if you hold mitzvahs don't need kavanah, that means you don't need kavanah to be yotzei, but you certainly have to be aware that you're doing the act of the mitzvah, so you have to know that it's Pesach and matzah.
Right.
So, but that's not so pasha. That's, I think, a Rosh Chodesh. That's Harber Rishonim de Lo Yatzah. So he says it's Harber Rishonim. I guess the Beis Yosef. I remember as being a Ra'ah. Maybe the Ritva. He's a Talmudic Ra'ah. Says it also. So he says I am Beis Yosef. So I didn't prepare tonight. So I didn't look up, but that's what I remember as the Ra'ah. But he makes a special chiluk that even the man Dumber, like the Rambam passes, and this is same Shrichus Kavanah, but you at least have to know that the act you're doing is you're not doing it for the mitzvah, but you have to be aware that it's Pesach or Matzah. Sometimes you're eating Matzah in the middle of the year. You think you're eating Matzah in the middle of the year, it would be nothing. Okay. Now he says the ayin prim begadim hilchos kriyishma simen samach on the Eish Labram Sivkan Gadol. The Supuk, he has a suffix. A mitzvah shriels kavanah min haTorah arak min rabbanan. Interesting. Partially everyone learns the whole Shiur mitzvah kavanah is a Shiur and deraises.
Right.
And Prima Gadol says he's not so sure. That could be even the man Denver says mitzvah shriels kavanah. The requirement is only a Rabbanadic requirement of kavanah. Could be min haTorah. Everybody agrees a mitzvah doesn't need kavanah. Uva mezid. So he says, is mitzvah kavanah min haTorah or rak min rabbanan? Uva mezid im lo niskaven af min haTorah lo yatsa. That's his suffix. So ayin pri megalim b'psicha hanal b'shem atos asukah daf gimel v'ziram amar. So now he's saying
it's a suffix. He's mesupik.
His first suffix, I think he means like this. So his first suffix is mitzvah kavanah min haTorah or not.
Right.
Right. Then he says, and even if it's only the rabbanan, right? He says, b'mezid, you're not gonna if you didn't have kavanah, b'mezid, you're not going to be yotzei even min haTorah. In other words, the fact, because he's going to say, because he's going now that if you don't do something which the way the rabbanan required you to do it, you're not even yotzei min haTorah. That's based on that Tosos in the beginning of Sukkah that says if you had the shulchan outside, that they said if this is the way you did it your whole time, you were never yotzei mitzvah, right? Even though that's only of the rabbanan.
Right.
So the Prima Gadol was going. So you see, the rabbanan made a requirement, and you didn't follow the rabbanan's requirement. You're not even yotzei mitzvah rice, because your Tosos says you're looking at the mitzvah Sukkah even mitzvah rice. You're not yotzei.
Right.
So here also you say even if you say that the rabbanan, in other words, he's saying that even if the rabbanan required kavanah, but if you're not, if you're a shogeg, then you'll be yotzei mitzvah according to Torah.
Right.
But if you're amazing on the rabbanan, you didn't keep the rabbanan, then you won't even be yotzei the mitzvah rice, which is also a very hard concept. But that's based on the Tosos.
Right.
Where it says over there that mitzvah sukkah, if you did the sukkah this way without the shulchan inside the sukkah, which is only the rabbanic requirement, you weren't yotzei your whole life. So the Torah says over there that imane osik v'takanas chazal, kit takanas chazal. If you don't do the mitzvah the way the chazal directed it, af min haTorah lo yatsa. Right. So therefore, if you're amazed, it doesn't make a difference if kavanah is a requirement of the Raisa or the Rabbanan. But he says even if the Rabbanan, if you bedavka don't have kavanah, you're not going to be yotze even though the kavanah was only a requirement of the Rabbanan. He says, but onus not kamina. But the case would be if you didn't have kavanah, not b'meised, but it was an onus that you didn't have kavanah. Hainu, for example, in Lov, in Eskaven, he didn't have kavanah. Ba'achar zeh and his damna lo matzah shel iser, and then he got another piece of matzah. In a gavna that we would say that you could be yotze with the mitzvah of this matzah shel iser, we would say esei docha lo sasa. So in minat Torah lo yotze kodem, if you say he wasn't yotze because mitzvah is kavanah according to the Torah, and he wasn't yotze with the matzah he ate at first, even though it was an onus, but whatever it is, but he didn't have kavanah, so he wasn't yotze with the raisa. Im kain sarach lechol eser, now he's going to have to eat this extra piece of matzah, even though it's a matzah shel eser. You'll say esei docha losva because he didn't do the eser yet. Sarach lechol eser de esei docha losva. Ach im rabbanan lo yotze. But if you say minat Torah he was yotze, just min rabbanan he has to eat it over again. So the chiyuv the rabbanan is not going to be able to be docha the lo sasa. Ein docha, right? He says mikol makom. He says ani mitzvot. The Minchas Chinuch I think is saying this. That he says I'm not so sure what he said before that if it had been mazed, if the rabbanan need kavanah and mazed he didn't have kavanah, he's not yotze in the mitzvah d'oraisa. He says mikol makom ani mitzvot b'zeh. After those das hatosis the hates with rabbanan lo yotzaf in the Torah become makom after the litchos achakach eser ein yachol. So I don't understand. He's kind of that even though you weren't yotze at all, right? So it could be now they get another piece of matzah which is matzah shel iser. Could be you won't say esei docha lo sasa, even though you weren't yotze the esei. Because he seems to be saying the Rabbanan made it that you're not yotze to the essay, but could be bad somehow there is a degree of ma'aseh mitzvah that you did. I don't understand what his suffix really is. I mean, if you weren't yotze, if the Rabbanan made it that you weren't yotze, you weren't yotze.
But the fact is, you still don't want it to be matter and issa. I mean, that's
why? But it's a ma'aseh, the mitzvahs. You say esei do closer. I mean, the Rabbanan went to taking away the mitzvah in such a case. That's what he means. The Rabbanan said he wasn't yotze, and he's not yotze in Torah.
No, I understand the problem, but the fact is that to develop it in such a way that this is going to be matter and nisser, maybe there's a
Rabbanan don't have that kayach.
But you're left with the essays not being done, but. Like I don't know how I don't understand the mechanics how it works, but the fact is
because in essence you mean I didn't think of this. In other words, in essence, what the Rabbanan don't have a koach to tell you. They have a koach to tell you didn't not yotze to the mitzvah. You have to do the mitzvah again, but they don't have a koach to tell you to do an iser. So here their koach of taking away the mitzvah is being used now to
there's something
to do an iser.
Right.
Because now they're saying now you're going to do a mitzvah midocha the yisr, so it comes out you're only doing this second piece of matzah because of the Rabbanan.
Right.
If it wasn't for the Rabbanan, you would have been yotze with the first piece of matzah.
Right.
So it comes out through the I didn't think of this, but through the Rabbanan we're ending up doing an isser.
Right.
So that's why the Minchas Chinuch says it's not so.
Unless he's trying to say that whether it's an Indian the Kleich Chazal to do that or which.
Or they wouldn't do it.
Or they say it as a getter in the gzera that the gzera cannot lead to an isser.
Yeah, he doesn't say what he just says he's the suffix.
Right. But I mean I understand like.
He doesn't explain which way it was. Here, the guns but the Prima Gana wasn't a suffix. Prima Gadim held that you would be able to say matzah. He's just saying anim is suffix in such a case, or is this all the Prima Gadim?
I don't know if he's Mesubik in the Prima Gadim. We don't know for sure what the Prima Gadim would say. Did he actually say?
No, Prima Gadim said im in Torah lo yotz v'kodem. If you say since the Rabbanan you weren't yotze before, and kain tzarech lechol isra d'aseh dochol osa, ach im in Rabbanan lo yotze, toch. You Okay, but he's not talking about a case where the Rabbanan said you need kavanah. He's talking about if Mrs. Strich's kavanah is midaraisa, so you weren't yotze in the mitzvah at all, so we'll say asidocha hosta. But if the need of kavanah is the Rabbanan, but he's saying clearly, if the need of the Rabbanan is kavanah, and the Rabbanan said you're not yotze because you need kavanah, he's saying cause then you wouldn't be able to say asidocha, you wouldn't be able to say asidocha.
Even though he says that
even though he said min Rabbanan lo yotza meant that the Rabbanan makes him in Torah not yotze.
Right.
And he says I'm a suplik that he learned that even though min Rabbanan you're not yotze, he said you wouldn't be able to say asidocha losa. And he said anim is suplik was that apadas tosus the hazen min Rabbanan lo yotza apin Torah. After he called him after litchos aknachiser.
So it seems the previous statement, Achim Mudram Liyatsa Indocha, is not according to Tosus. He's saying after Dasa Tosus. Right? Now he's going back to Tosus. Because he's saying it before.
Is that you? I'm not so sure if it's the Minchas Chinuch. Let me just read it again.
The Prima Gun is bringing down Hashem
because he's talking about the Prima Gun was going on. First of all, the Prima Gun is about the time Hashem tells us that even if the Kavanah is the Rabbanan, but the Rabbanan made it, you're not Yotze the mitzvah.
Right.
But he said that's if you were amazed, you didn't have Kavanah, right? He says Ach ba'onas nafkamina. He says there's the nafkamina in the case of onus, where the Rabbanan didn't say you're not Yotze the mitzvah, you weren't honest, right? Behind him lonis kavan. What's the nafkamina if it's the rights of the Rabbanan in that case? In lonis kavan achas and his bambo matzah shalisar begavna dasidokolosa. In a Torah lo yatsa kolem because Mr. Srich's kavana in kain sarach lechola iser dasidocha losasa. Ach in the Rabbanan lo yatsa. And here the Rabbanan weren't okrit, right? Ain't no docha. Then you wouldn't because in that case you were yotze the mitzvah deraisa, so you're not ain't docha, right? Now I think the Minchas Chinuch is saying we come up but the Prima Ganim actually held that if you weren't yotze midaraisa, like in the case of Mazid, you wouldn't say the snaf kamina besidocha losa. You wouldn't say asidocha losa either. He only said in the case of onus, right, where you were yotze the mitzvah deraisa, if you hold mitzvah strichus kavanah only the Rabbanan, so then you wouldn't be able to.
But if you did with Mazid. But
if you did with Mazid, the Prima Ganim never said the snaf kamina, right? Because he said if you did it with Mazid, you're not yotze the mitzvah deraisa at all.
So if you do say asidocha.
So you would say asidocha losa, right? And I think now the Minchas Chinuch is saying I'm arguing with that shot that's the way I understood it, that he's arguing with that part of the Prima Ganim. He says could be that even if the Rabbanan said you're not Yotze, in other words, even in the case of Mazid, where you weren't Yotze, you still won't say Esidocha Losa, maybe like you're saying, because either the Rabbanan didn't go so far, or I'm saying that could be that the Rabbanan don't even have a koch to do that, to cause it. He doesn't say what his suffix is. But it's him saying the suffix, and not the Prima Ganim. Prima Ganim was saying for sure you wouldn't say you would say Asidocha Losa.
If a person does the Mazid doesn't want to become the mitzvah, in the end he'll have a head to eat right. I mean a head to do an Isser.
Because that's Asidocha Losa.
So wow. That's a pretty.
Began the suffix now a new case. The suffix in achal matzah. He's been suffix we ate matzah or not. The achar is achal matzah below kabana, and then he ate matzah for sure, but he didn't have kabana to be yotze. So im nemer steak at the rice of the chumra min Torah. Im kain lo yotze adayin. So he wasn't yotze. He wasn't yotze with the first case was only a suffix. So he's completely to eat matzah again. And the second time he ate the matzah without kabana, so he wasn't yotze with that. So for sure he's going to have to eat matzah again. Right, because he's mechuyev misafik to eat matzah, and the fact that he ate matzah below kavana is meaningless if mitzvah is kavana min Torah. Aval im hu rak the rabbanan, but if safik deraisa l'chomer is only mid rabbanan, who vid rabbanan lo boy kavana, and says by a mitzvah the rabbanan you don't need kavana, you only need kavana by a mitzvah deraisa the way we pass the mitzvah kavana is only by a mitzvah deraisa, not by the rabbanan. He's saying yatsa. So this is not so pashut And this I think I saw people say because he's understanding you had a suffix if you ate matzah or not. So now you're in a situation where at this point he's going that even a suffix mitzvah say you have to be machmir and do the mitzvah again.
Right.
So now he's saying if you're mechuyev midaraisa, so you're going to have kavanah to do it because the mitzvah deraisa needs kavanah. But if you're mechuyev midarabanan, you're not going to have kavanah, right? If the chiyuv to eat is only midarabanan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so pashut because it depends what the Rabbanan, it's not the regular, the Rabbanan made a new chiyuv. What the Rabbanan said was, don't take a chance. According to the Torah, you could take a chance that you were yotzei.
Right.
And here the Rabbanan said, if it was only a suffix, we don't want you to take a chance and eat it again.
Right.
So it could be they're telling you to eat it again because of the possibility that you weren't yotzei, and therefore you should have kavanah. Don't say, I'm only doing it now the Rabbanan, I prefer the Rabbanan doing the kavanah. Here the Rabbanan told you to do over the mitzvah the rights and don't take a chance that you were yotzei, so there you would need kavanah. Yeah. He's saying if some the rights of the Chumrah is only the Rabbanan, you won't need kavanah, but that's not such a pashut thing, because the Rabbanan told you to don't rely on the fact that you were yotzei misafik, do it again. So they're telling you to do the mitzvah deraisa again. So it could be that you would have to have the mitzvah, you would have to have kavanah.
It's also interesting because he's saying, the truth is that if he says if you ate matzah without kavanah, and it's only let's say you just ate matzah without kavanah, and kavanah is only rabbanan, then it's a suffix rabbanan, right? So
there's no suffix. What do you mean?
No, if you had a suffix, he says achazeh achol matzah below kavanah.
At first he had a suffix. He suffix if he ate matzah.
Right.
He had a real suffix, and then he ate the matzah shalom b'kavanah. So he's saying if suffix the rice is b'chumra min Torah, so min Torah the second piece of matzah that he ate, he wasn't yotzei because the mitzvah the rice needs kavanah.
Right.
But if suffix the rice b'chumra is only midrabanan, so he was only mechuyev to eat the second piece of matzah midrabanan, so he's yotzei the second piece, and without kavanah for the rabbanan you don't need kavanah. And now I'm arguing that this is not a regular drabanan.
No, I understand that, but the fact is that I'm not understanding if it's a drabanan, the kavanah is a drabanan in its own right. So he knows for sure that he did not eat it with kavanah. That's the point. Okay, I understand. Yeah. He knows for sure he didn't eat it with kavanah. So therefore there's no suffix on the kavanah.
Right.
The question is whether there's a chiyuv of having to eat this or not, because you don't know if you ate previously or not.
Right.
And the first eating you did, most likely, you're thinking you did with kavanah.
Or at least it was a suffix. It was a suffix matzah. He doesn't say what a suffix was.
Okay, you're right. It's not your normal suffix. Yeah.
He says kvar kosutzal. He said, but the Achronim already wrote the suffix mitzvah essay. Vali l'chumim in Torah. That was the chavas das I told you last time. But mitzvah essay, you don't say suffix the renown l'chumim zerabani. You say it's been a Torah, but he says a different reason, not the chavas das reason, which was the Torah speaks b'lasha and vade. He says there's a different reason because the yesh cheskas chiyuv. By mitzvah there's a cheskas chiyuv to do the mitzvah, so you can't be meko by dvarim atikim. That's to be great if the mitzvah is different than if the Ram holds by mitzvah is different. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here. What time?